Monster Shop. Remember power cable today?
We've got power cable, got everything, and a lovely singy intro. In key, everything.
In key, yeah.
Only you could do that.
How are you?
I'm all right. I've got over, I think, what I had last time. I listened to last week's podcast and I sounded awful. I sounded all nasally and I'm feeling a bit better now.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm looking at these waveforms. I'm feeling confident about the waveforms. They look good.
You love watching them. While we were recording, Chris has Pro Tools open with a little whizzy up and downy waveform things.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is that it's like you're watching The Matrix. so eventually, we had a buzzing once.
Yeah.
And you stopped the recording because you could see the buzzing in the waveform, and I always liked that.
It's been good. Good week. Good chilled week, hasn't it? Sun's come out.
Yeah. It has. It's summer. Yeah. It's summer. It's going to be 25 degrees Celsius next week.
Is it?
Or this week. I don't know where I'm at, but in the next few days, it's 25 degrees.
Wow. That's big.
I don't know what we do with that.
No.
Is that when you have to wear your shorts? You've got your shorts on.
I've got my shorts on.
You're already.
Yeah, I've got my shorts on. Yeah.
I'm not sure I've got any shorts. I'll have to go and do something about that.
Yeah. Just get your jeans, cut them.
Is that what you did with it? Is that what you've gone for? Then, that's a good look.
I do that quite a lot.
Just cut your trousers in half.
Yeah.
Leo came downstairs this morning. Leo's my eldest son. He's 13. Very bright academically. Very good. Scores very highly in maths tests.
Yeah.
Came downstairs today with winter socks. You know those kind of winter socks? You can get the really thick. Pair of those.
Yeah.
Jeans and a jumper. And then I said to him, Leo, look, the sun's out. He said, I can't find any more clothes. This is really funny. It's the same boy as well who we once asked him what would he do if we were out and the house was on fire.
Yeah.
And we said, Leo, what would you do? And we were expecting something like, I'd ring 999, go to a neighbour. He didn't say either of those. He said, I would run to the nearest fire station.
Right, okay.
And tell them.
Yeah.
It was about 4 miles away. And then I said, could you get there from here? Well, I don't know. I'd ask somebody on the way. So you wouldn't tell them that your house was on fire. You'd ask them where they. So he's a special kind of guy. Love him dearly, obviously.
So this week we are doing OK Computer, which we've threatened for a number of weeks.
You were too scared, weren't you?
Yeah.
Tom York would have used the buzzing that you found in the thing and he'd have made a song from it. Yeah. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think he's the boss of that band, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, you sent me some videos of him and the body language when everyone's asked. Well, there's two things I liked about it. One, the lineup hasn't changed.
Yeah.
I think they're all scared of him.
Yeah.
I genuinely think they're all too scared to leave.
Yeah.
Like he would, do you know what I mean? He would like put horses' heads in their bed and that kind of thing. They're all like, oh God, he's mental. I'm not, just do whatever he says. And when he says it's band practice, they'll go, yep, I'm coming. But whenever they were asked any questions, they were all like looking over. Weren't they?
Yeah,
like,
is it am I saying the right thing, Tom?
Yeah. Is that okay? Did I say the right thing?
Yeah.
We didn't rehearse this.
But at the time, that's the thing, isn't it? Is that the thing about OK Computer for me is I never got it, when it first came out, because I liked Creep and Just, and I like those kind of things.
Yeah.
And then this album dropped, and I was into Green Day and the Stereophonics,
bouncy,
and I was into really simple, kind of, as you say, hooky stuff. And then suddenly this thing comes out of nowhere, and all my mates that are really cool, that I aspire to be as cool as them, they're all like, you got to listen to this OK Computer album. It's so cool. Yeah. And I heard it and I went, it just feels, I don't get it.
It's really sad.
I don't get it. It feels a bit like, because I like the big happy stuff, pop stuff. This feels a little bit miserable and maybe a little bit pretentious, because it does weird things with music that shouldn't be allowed, because in music you're only allowed guitars in my world at the time. Obviously things have changed now, but at the time that was how I felt about it. So it wasn't until much later, and I listened to it again, with headphones on, in a room on my own, where I could actually hand over to the record, and then suddenly you hear the production. Suddenly you hear it's a Nigel Godrich, I think his name is.
Yeah, he is.
Godrich, but he's actually been, since this album, he's been their producer I believe, like throughout, and it's become a very collaborative process, this kind of album making. So I think he's kind of stayed with them on the journey when they've done sort of subsequent things.
So I did a list.
Oh, okay,
which you'll be pleased to know. So their first record, 1993, Pablo Honey.
Yeah,
it was produced by Sean Slade and Paul Q. Goldry.
Right.
The Bends, 95, which is the first album I think I heard from them.
Yes.
Didn't like it. John Leckie did the production on that.
Well, that album, John Leckie was the producer.
Yeah.
Nigel Godrich was the engineer.
Oh, there's so many stories of that. That happened with Ozzy and Megadeth and a bunch of others as well. OK Computer, 97, Nigel Godrich. And Radiohead.
And I never know whether it's Godric or Godrich, but I think we'll go with Godrich.
That stayed the same. The bit that I find really interesting is A Moon-Shaped Pool from 2016 doesn't have Radiohead credited as production credits.
Okay.
So it's just Nigel. The lineup hasn't changed. I don't think the lineup's changed at all. I'm just looking down the list. I don't think the lineup's changed at all since 1993.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't
They're all petrified of him. They are scared to death of Tom York and what he'll do to them if he rings, Tom, I don't want to do music anymore.
But they've all gone off to do other stuff.
Yes, loads of side projects.
They've all done like Johnny Greenwood has done loads of film stuff.
Yeah.
The drummer man, I can never remember his name. Phil, is it? Something? He's done another band. There's The Smile. That's the sort of latest project with Tom and one of the other guys. You know, there's loads of stuff that they've done, you know, off the side, but then they just sort of come back together.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I think you're probably right. I think they're
it's kind of like Blur, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that they're just a group of people that like recording together. Yeah. And you know, I'm joking about Tom York being all scared of him, but actually, I think he's pretty chilled. I think you know, reading that there's no. There's like no beef between them and anybody else. No. They're not going out picking fights with anybody. Or normally when we do these, I do a search for like who fell out with them.
Yeah.
On this tour or on this album, and all I found was like gushing praise for the album and for the band and for the tours they went on. And you know, it's just incredibly rare to see.
They're kind of revered by their peers as well and their contemporaries. So I'm going to just play a little clip here from Dave Grohl, who talks about the record and what it kind of means to him.
This was a pivotal moment in not only Radiohead's career, but I think in the history of music. You know, when they made the OK Computer record, I honestly felt like that was the beginning of some kind of revolution musically. And of course, as a live band, one of the greatest live bands of all time, performing a song that was, you know, that was challenging the audience to join them in this crazy revolution. And the Paranoid Android live, it's not exactly like the record. It's better because it's happening. And of course, that I really do feel like that record changed the landscape of popular music for years to come. But this particular performance, I remember watching it thinking like, oh my God, here we go again. It's time for another revolution. Great.
Yeah, and you sort of see that message replicated, don't you? That people, you know, they really revere the record and it means a lot to them and it's played a part in their own musical journey.
Yeah,
and absolutely. Just that respect. But I always go, and I've said this for probably the last 2 or 3 episodes, you look back at the time and they were kids, really. They were young men. They weren't, you know, the OK Computer gives the impression of a really mature, kind of well-seasoned, you know, group of people. And yet you look at them and they're like, you know, they're in their 20s still, aren't they? I think. And
it's phenomenal, really, the confidence in there. I mean, Rolling Stone ranked it as number 42 out of the top 500 albums ever. Best Ever Albums is a site, ranks OK Computer as the best album of all time. And Spin Magazine ranked it as the best album in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The accolades are phenomenal. I looked down at people that have listed this album and Radiohead in general as influences, but Chris Martin from Coldplay said that Radiohead was a significant influence. Muse, you can hear
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like not only I think Muse actually nicked stuff from this record to get started. But yeah, absolutely. Matt Bellamy talks about that. Arcade Fire, TV on the radio. And one I didn't expect was Linkin Park. So Mike Shinoda. I said it was a revelation in terms of production and songwriting, influencing the blend of electronic and rock elements. He said especially loved like the experimental tracks. Mike Shinoda is really interesting in the article he talks about, because he says he said it was almost like it was a bit like we talked about with the Black Album.
Yes,
it's kind of like, oh, it's okay. That was an album that wasn't poppy. It wasn't full of hooks. It wasn't like saccharine sweet. It wasn't like a straight 4B. It wasn't simple, lyrics. The lyrics were dark. It was pretty twisted in places. You're really influenced by dark kind of 1984 kind of style stuff. And it was really commercially successful and people loved it. And that said that it was okay for us to do that. We could, we didn't have to write songs that were simple and easy to be successful. And I think that kind of goes on for lots of this stuff. I think it's just it's phenomenal. It's really hard to overestimate the impact of this album.
And the thing that gets me though about, because of that approach and experimentation and the kind of not normal way of creating music, I'd always put it in my head as this idea that, it was painstaking and it was like a hard thing for them to go through. And, they were all in kind of fractious or whatever. But actually, on most of the interviews I've experienced have said, yeah, it's a really good laugh. We had a right laugh recording this. You know what I mean? And you just like, and the one that really, really gets me, and we'll play it now, is the solo from Paranoid Android. We obviously heard that in the intro.
Yeah.
But just listen to how playful this solo is. So I think that the point behind that one for me was just the playfulness of that record, of that tracking of that guitar. Just it really is just like, because when you play a lead break and you're thinking about the scale and the solo and all that sort of stuff, that just like defies all the rules.
Just does everything he wants to do.
Yeah.
There's like you mentioned earlier, it doesn't feel like an album from young people.
No.
It feels like something with more maturity to it. It's interesting as well, the recording techniques as well that they used to get that sound, which again were like really weird for the time. So it was recorded live in analog. So the band literally played together as a band.
It sounds so
it
layered.
Does. It sounds super layered. It was recorded in analog, then it was edited to all the not all the reverb, but lots of the stuff was then processed digitally. The reverb that I find fascinating for this one is they used different spaces. So they used St. Catherine's Court for the acoustic sound in there for lots of the percussion and things like that to kind of make it sound better. So they were using natural reverb rather than...
It's another one of these records where they just hired a house, didn't they? And they tracked it in and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, there's a mixture. It was recorded in a whole bunch of different places. But yeah, they just kind of took what they wanted from the different spaces. And then it says here, instead of isolating instruments during the mixing process, which is really common, the band often mixed sounds together. It's more dense, which would have been totally the opposite of what was happening in the rest of the world.
But I would urge, with those things in mind, I'd urge anyone to sit with some headphones on and listen to this record, just because some of the creative choices behind the production, so things like Paranoid Android is a great example. The guitars, if you looked at it from a traditional kind of what they should be perspective, they're far too loud.
Yeah.
In comparison to kind of everything else.
Yeah, they are.
And, the drums are all the way. I mean, Radiohead drums, there's kind of a sound. And they're really heavily compressed, really heavily squashed up. And they've got this kind of super dry sound, which at the time, again, was very not common because there was lots of space on everything. So,
it wasn't. Yeah, it is a really unique sounding record. It's interesting because lots of the equipment that they used, like the hardware and stuff, was kind of pretty standard. I mean, it's like AKG 451 mics for the drum kits, Neumann U87, Coles 4038 ribbon mic. Mixing console was an SSL 4000, Studio A80 tape machine, really common stuff. But then they, I think, just went. It's the band that made the difference. It's not the hardware that was used or anything else. It was them and their creativity that gave us the result.
There was an interview that I found on YouTube, which we're going to play a couple of clips from, and it was a Canadian one. And it was quite a kind of alt-young magazine-y type interview.
Yeah.
But the interviewer is absolutely spot on and makes the band really comfortable and sort of safe to talk about complex things.
Yeah.
Which I thought was wonderful to the point where, normally when you watch YouTube and you're skipping through things, I watched the entire interview from start to finish.
That's not like you at all, is it? I've watched it. If it's not a 30-second reel about someone falling off like a skateboard or a cat doing something, I'm like, I'm on board now. Yeah. Just condense this into like the 8-second attention span that I've got. Shall we listen?
Yeah.
It's a 6.5 epic without a chorus. So we
It's nothing but choruses. It's all chorus. Oh. Yeah, you're right.
Were you trying to push the parameters of pop music in this?
Oh no, I hope not. Everyone tried that in the 70s and it went wrong, didn't it?
Fusion.
Yeah. Peter Gabriel was all right when he had the big flower around his head. Not really, no. We had 3 songs, we didn't know what to do them, so we put them into one with Paranoid Android. There was, I don't know, I think it's a pop record. I think it's just, you can't, first listen, it's got a different atmosphere to it.
Yeah, well, what were some of the things that were influencing you that helped in the atmosphere of the album?
Well, the place we recorded at was pretty influential. I mean, we had all the material anyway, but it made the performances really weird. It was quite haunted. It's a haunted house.
Another haunted place. Didn't you record last time in a haunted place?
Yes.
With the older woman who
That's right.
slept in her room or something like that?
That's right.
She had passed away?
She used to play billiards at night as well.
Yeah. And I couldn't look in the mirror. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in the mirror. Yeah. Well, there you go, you see. I have to find a haunted house every time we do an album so I can not get any sleep and get really freaked out.
So then you weren't consciously like trying to make something different, but it just ended up sounding different in terms of other music that is out in the mainstream.
Just because of what we were listening to, it was different. It was like we had that thing where we were sort of embarrassed to be a guitar band, really. So we were just trying to sort of go down different areas all the time, and it was material anyway, but it made the performances really weird. It was quite haunted.
So many of these records, right? These classic records that we've been looking at, it's all about the location that they're recorded in. And that a lot of that was done in St. Catherine's Court. I know you spotted a lot of the string work was done in Abbey Road, and there are probably bits and bobs done elsewhere, but it was that kind of time together in a sort of confined space without any distractions, without loads of other stuff to do, and without, other things getting in the way, where they could focus solely on the creativity and the music, which I think is, I think that's really important for making music.
Do you know, the thing that leapt out to me from that is that he said that the place influenced the music.
Yeah.
And I think Dave Grohl has talked about this. He did that thing, Sound City.
Yeah, of course.
And I really liked that concept that it's not just, obviously the room acoustics impact how it sounds.
Yeah.
But it's that next thing about saying actually the vibe of the place changes the chords that you write and the structure of the songs and the lyrics and the way you think about those songs. I don't know. I just find that fascinating. Like you said, that was done in St. Catherine's Court, which they thought was haunted.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. They did loads of work around to find the best places for the right acoustics in there.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, I'm not entirely convinced the album would have sounded the same and would have been musically the same had it been recorded somewhere else.
And I wonder, you know, through these explorations that we're doing, I wonder why, because obviously I've got all the rooms on here on this computer. I've got all the plugins. I can record wherever I want.
Yeah.
In terms of like what it sounds like, I can, you know, do all of these things. I've got the best gear in the industry that everyone uses to make brilliant records, and yet that might not be what it's about. It might not be about that. It might be about actually where you go and what you do. And
well, there's something I really want to. So I really want to cover an Oasis record. I just really want to dig into that. We have not really done much British stuff. Obviously, we've got this, but I want to do some more British stuff.
Yeah,
and I'd love to go and do that. And plus, we know some people that were involved in that. But the album I really wanted to do was definitely Maybe.
Yes,
because the impact was massive. And it doesn't sound very good. And it kind of hit me a little bit that some of these albums, some of the biggest and most pivotal albums, you know, the production's actually not that good. I was listening to Dark Side of the Moon this week, and I got my headphones on, and it suddenly hit me that lots of the high frequencies, lots of the cymbal stuff sounds a bit splashy. There's no detail there to it. And does it take away from the music? I'm not sure. I'm not sure it does. I'm not sure that it makes. The production has to be good enough.
Yeah.
But it isn't all about production. And I think the music and the songs, if they're being influenced by the environment that you're in, like you said a while back that you were tracking some vocals in here.
Yes.
And the person you were tracking the vocals with was dead relaxed, and it sounded loads better.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And not necessarily the room acoustics, but actually their performance was better because they felt more relaxed in the environment.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's critical for a lot of bands. It's finding a space that works. I mean, you talked last week, about Guns N' Roses and the chaos. That was their recording of Appetite. And their record company desperately trying to find people and a place that would fit in with them. And if there's anything that kind of sums up Radiohead, it's that haunted house.
Yeah,
it sounds like a haunted. Do you know what I mean? It sounds like a scary
there's
haunted
some ghosts
house
on that record. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think it's
digital ghosts.
I just think it's phenomenal. I really do. And for as much as they did the song tracking and practicing and stuff, they used a place called Canned Applause, which is like a converted shed in Didcot in Oxfordshire, which is very rock and roll. But it's interesting. I'm willing to bet that those songs changed.
Yeah, based on where they were at.
Just in this whole, and I've seen you do it as well. Even when you're doing it in Pro Tools, you'll play something, you think, oh, that sounds, and then that encourages you to do something different.
Yes,
honestly, the environment has a big impact on what we do, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, one of the things that Tom talks about, this, I'm going to do a couple more clips from this particular interview. It's really good. It's well worth a watch on YouTube. And they're talking about, how everyone else is kind of doing the guitar thing, and there's a lot of that going on, and he kind of calls it a bit of a cop out, or a bit of a, an easy kind of route for a band to take. And I just love this clip.
It's a false sense of worthiness, which has now become a marketing ploy, as you probably know, working in, video music place.
It's a safe formula to rely on. And I don't know, it's like Frank Zappa, I've heard something where he was talking about the death of culture, how everything, popular music regurgitates what's happened in the past, and then what the death of culture comes when that reminiscing and that regurgitation happens faster and faster, so you're regurgitating what happened last week, and then up until yesterday, and then when that point...
I think that's happening now, and I think that actually now it's happened. It's really good because everyone can do what they want. It's just a shame that record companies don't have the foresight or the insight or whatever to just go off and find new stuff. I mean, in Britain at the moment, it seems, I don't know about elsewhere, but it seems that everybody's just going off in random directions. And I think that's really exciting. And we were kind of doing that on each song. It was, okay, which way should we go this time? I don't know, let's go down and try and
Which I just think is awesome. And the last bit from this particular interview I wanted to play
And by doing it wrong, you come up with something else.
This is the other bit where you kind of forget because we're talking about, the album, but sometimes through the lens of 2024.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously this was 1997, or around that sort of time, and the world was a very, very different place then. And that one of the things that we're just starting to play with was kind of like, you just, the internet had just come through as a thing that people were using as a mainstream thing. Mm-hmm. So they're talking about how they used to interact with their fans, which of course now is commonplace through social media. But back in the day, it was through the sort of chat rooms and those sort of things. That's just a really funny reflection on that.
When we were doing the album, we used to go and sit on in the Radiohead chat sites, like at 4 a.m, and we'd constantly be saying, no, we are in the band, really, and people never believed you, because there'd be 8 other people saying that they were me or something, and it really does your head in after a while. In the end, you give up and just pretend to be somebody else.
And you just sort of think now it's almost like an amplification of that, isn't it? You don't know what's the truth anymore online. You don't know who's real and who isn't. And
no one prepared us. I think it's a really interesting thought exercise, actually thinking back to that time, because the internet was like 95, 96 really in general terms. Most people didn't really pick up on it until later, like 97, 98, people, 99, people were getting ADSL modems and were getting online and doing things. No one trained you for how to do that. And I love that bit from Tom going, no one would believe me who I said I was. But nothing's changed really, right? Nothing. I suppose you can pay Musk for a blue tick.
Yes.
It's interesting, isn't it? That's and the shift, we were talking about this at work. That shift from in the mid-90s. I mean, I remember living through it. We were kind of, I was so deep in that world. I lived I lived a lot of my time at that point in my life online. And we're going through that again with AI.
Yeah,
today.
Of course. Yeah.
And but it's really weird. But if I look back, if you ask me a question, I can give you an articulate answer of how the internet shaped the world.
Yeah.
But when we were living in it, I couldn't.
No.
I was just absolutely. I remember getting a magazine cover disc with Goldfinger.
Yes.
On the CD, and I remember putting it into a CD. Multimedia was a big everything had multimedia on it, and I watched this awful crappy clip of James Bond Goldfinger on on my PC, and I thought that was the best thing in the world. And it's interesting because when you're there and you're living in it, you don't see the impact it's having on society and how it's changing the world.
No.
But I think OK Computer was a fascinating one for me because of the use of digital. They were using computers to shape the album. Massively. It was all recorded analog, and then they were embracing the technology to go and But I love some of the bits in the interviews where they're kind of almost mangling it. It wasn't like oh, here's the process, here's what we're going to do. It was just like
it was really playful.
Yeah, what happens if I press this button? What if I press that button? What if I press all the buttons? I like that. Let's do that again. Do you know what I mean? You can understand why it was so experimental. Just totally winging it as well. I think it's phenomenal. Shall we talk about the album cover?
Yes.
I love album covers. I've rediscovered vinyl a little bit lately. And I think the thing that I love about it, although vinyl's impractical, doesn't sound as good. And it scratches really easily. And they're more expensive. But there's just this thing when I sit down in my chair and I get my vinyl copy of something out. And you get this. First of all, you get this lovely big slab of artwork, and it's quite big.
Yes.
So you can look at it, and then as you go in there, there's normally like printed sheets inside, and it's just this kind of experience where you kind of get to enjoy it. I think that's been lost a little bit.
Definitely. The ritual of music listening.
But I think that focus on the album cover, it's like it's not it's kind of meant to.
It's just wallpaper now.
It's like
It's supposed to conceptualize the work,
But for this one, for OK Computer, it was designed by Stanley Donwood. Now, what I hadn't realised, because he's kind of quoted as being the dude behind it, but he sat and worked with Tom York on it. And by sat and worked on it, they cut stuff out and stuck stuff in.
Yes.
And
so
tried
they're
to
like collage.
Yeah, and try to make you imagine all of this stuff is digital. It probably is these days. But I love it. And there's like text in there and stuff about the album and the themes of alienation and technological disarray. All of that stuff is in the album cover.
Yeah.
And, when it's like a postage stamp little thumbnail in Apple Music.
Yeah, you lose it, don't you?
Yeah, you don't see it. But when you're holding the thing in your hand, I found myself with quite a few albums lately where I've been using the vinyl and I've been sat there staring at the album cover and really enjoying the artwork.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely phenomenal. I do think it's a bit of a lost art, if I'm honest. But I think this is a brilliant example of where an album cover just totally embodies the music.
Yes.
And it, there's so much of the music and the themes woven into the album cover. I think it's absolutely excellent. Really, really cool.
Yeah. I think I'd like to listen to a couple of tunes.
Tune.
Yeah.
What's your favourite? I have to be honest. I love the singles. We'll talk about the singles. Let's play something, and we'll talk about the singles and how they did, and chart positions, and millions of sales and that kind of stuff afterwards.
Yeah. So the one for me is we've already played the segments of Paranoid Android. I think Paranoid Android for me is one of the key ones, and just because it's such a journey.
Do you know what it's about?
No, but I do love. I love the video. Because it really, for me, I know they talked about it on this interview saying it really reflects the music.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't to me at all, but I really like it anyway. And the second thing about it is just because it's so angular. It's so like, it jerks between sections. And it's funny listening to Angie when they said it's three songs kind of glued together.
It's interesting though, because I think it's got a hook to it.
Definitely.
They talk about, there's no hooks, but actually, of all of the singles that they released, they did Paranoid Android, Karma Police, Lucky, and No Surprises. I think they've all kind of got, not choruses per se, but they've got hooks in there and they've got something in there. But it's about social alienation and paranoia, according to Tom.
Yeah, but the one that I really wanted to listen to was Exit Music for a Film, because it's just amazing.
I reckon
it's so amazing.
I reckon Muse owe at least half of their royalties to Tom for this, don't you?
Yeah. Let's have a listen.
Wake from your sleep, the drying of your tears today. We escape. Pack and get dressed before your father hears us, before all hell breaks loose. Keep breathing. Don't lose your nerve. Breathe. Keep breathing. I can't do this alone. Sing us a song to keep us warm. There's such a chill such a chill.
Did you watch Westworld?
I did. I love Westworld.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? Well, actually, maybe not so much the newer seasons.
Season one. Yeah. Season one, amazing, best thing ever. I just loved it. Season two, just fizzled from being like, well, all right, to I can't watch anymore. Great idea, ruined.
Yeah, and they did this beautiful thing with Radiohead's music and some other music as well, but it was all played on piano, and I remember that. I'm pretty sure it was strings. They had exit music for a film.
Yeah, it was kind of quite haunting, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and I remember there's like a bar scene where they play. Is it Creep?
It might be, or it might be No Surprises. I can't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah, they do, and it just sounds phenomenal. It sounds so good. It's interesting. I was looking at the singles from the album. So they did Paranoid Android, Karma Police, and Lucky, all in '97.
Yeah.
Chart positions, UK chart positions. Paranoid Android was 3, Karma Police was 8. No Surprises was done in '98, and that charted at 4. The thing that hits me is this album isn't an immediate. No, I mean, it's not Kylie, is it? Do you know what I mean? Not Girls Aloud. You've not got teenage girls singing to it.
No.
You've got like grown men crying in the corner about their own existence, right? It's the content of those singles. Paranoid Android's about social alienation and paranoia. Karma Police is about karma, justice, and the consequences for your actions. No Surprises, a lament for a monotonous life, craving simplicity.
Yeah.
You're not. This isn't about Friday night. Whoop whoop. Is it? It's if you're already kind of circling the plug hole, this is going to push you down it. And yet everyone bought it.
Yeah.
I loved it. You know what I mean? Buying the singles, buying the album. The tours were just massive. They were off the hook. They toured with I think Coldplay and a bunch of others. And yeah, massive tours. People absolutely fell in love with this stuff. And I just find it. I just find it amazing that it was just so not anti the music industry, but it was like everything that was happening in the music industry. All of those kind of pop laden hooks and stuff.
Yeah.
The record company didn't want to put it out. They thought it wasn't commercial.
That's interesting. It's not commercial yet.
Yeah, they didn't think.
Look at what it's become.
Didn't think that it was going to be a success. They didn't see the singles. Where are the choruses?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's fascinating that an album that, on the outside, that probably shouldn't have been successful, probably should have meandered in the edges and the fringes of the music industry, and it should have been like a nerd fest, right? Where this was an album that only the important few knew about, one of those kind of albums, and yet turned into this just monster of a record.
Like,
I mean, everybody's heard it. You might not love it, but everybody's heard it. People, everyone's aware of Radiohead, and there was that quote that I sent you this week, where there was a guy who was on a dating. It was a fest. I love Fest Hole, and he said something like, "I'm dating, and I didn't get any replies, and I read somewhere that if you put that you're a Radiohead fan, you get more responses back from girls. So I put that I was a Radiohead fan in." And I didn't expect to get anything. I didn't really get many more responses, but I did get one, and we went on a date. And she wanted to know about my favourite Radiohead songs, sort of thing. And I had no idea. She's an absolute super fan, and now she thinks that I like them too. And I've never listened to a record or anything. And I loved it. I thought it was really funny.
That's brilliant. One thing I do wanted to play. I'm sorry, it's been quite interview heavy, but there was another interview or section from a something. Where they were talking about, where they saw the industry were going next, and there was things happening online and all that. And I tell you, there's some from this era. There are clips of them and Bowie and a few other people where they really nail it, and they nail what it's going to become.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that the reason that people circulate music so much on the net is because they can't get access to it any other way, because the radio is bullshit, and that's the kind of only way you can do it. I do find it quite amusing that the record industry itself chooses to blame the internet for its demise, whereas everyone knows damn well it's because they're not flogging things that people want to buy. and because the whole like music scene is just completely sewn up and really tired.
It's sort of a sign of people being into what you do, and also I think hopefully it's going to be a force that makes people bring out better records and records worth owning. All these records in the past that had 2 good songs and 10 rubbish ones. Maybe those days are over. To start out now as a band would be far more of a struggle. It's interesting. When we started, we got funding from a record company to go on tour, and they kept us on tour with their funding for the first 2 years. And now, because record companies aren't making money, that's all stopping, and instead they're starting to rely on radio play and videos, which is kind of horrific to us, and with the way radio is going, it's the idea that they're in charge of who breaks bands instead of concerts, instead of, we would never have left Oxford without funding, never have come to America, and it's sad in a way.
And then they choose to blame the internet. The bottom line is the shareholders. Shareholders are greedy. The companies themselves are poisoned and fucked up. And if they go down, bye-bye.
But I think that they were also the people feeling that at the time, but I think a lot of bands feel that now, that kind of alienation within the industry, and that the industry doesn't know what it's doing, and it's playing so safe. And
you think their misery was ahead of its time. they missed out on all the fun that came in, like in the noughties, and they missed out on all that. They zoomed straight to COVID and pandemics and all of that. And wars, and they knew that was coming.
The one that I didn't get, the song, there was a skipper for me, was that Fitter Happier with a computer voice.
Yeah, super weird track, wasn't it? And again, like bands now, like Slipknot have done that kind of thing where there's interludes and weird stuff in there, but it wasn't super common at the time.
No, and I think that's the thing about this, is that once you've listened to it a couple of times and you've kind of, got into it and know what it's about, and you know the reasons behind it and why it's there, it kind of makes more sense with the concept of the record. Yeah. Whereas I think when I first listened to it and I didn't understand it, I just skipped it. It was just another song, and it was a song that I didn't like.
It's described as a stark dystopian interlude.
Yeah,
I think that's something, and I like that.
Now I know that, I'll enjoy it more.
And but you were telling me, I had to go and look this up, but it was it's the Mac text to speech function with the voice name Fred.
That
they used. It gives it a really detached, cold feel, doesn't it? It's got this, it's got this like inhuman. But it's really weird because it's reading out very human. Things.
Fitter, happier, more productive, comfortable, not drinking too much, regular exercise at the gym, 3 days a week, getting on better with your associate employee contemporaries, at ease, eating well, no more microwave dinners and saturated fats, a patient better driver, a safer car, baby smiling in backseat, sleeping well, no bad dreams, no paranoia, careful to all animals, Never watching spiders down a plug hole. Keep in contact with old friends. Enjoy a drink now and then. Will frequently check credit at Moral, Bank, Hole in Wall. Favors for favors. Fond but not in love. Charity standing orders. On Sundays reading Road Supermarket. No killing moths or putting boiling water on the hands. Car wash. Also on Sundays. No longer afraid of the dark or midday shadows, nothing so ridiculously teenage and desperate, nothing so childish. At a better pace, slower and more calculated. No chance of escape. Now self-employed, concerned, but powerless. An empowered and informed member of society. Pragmatism, not idealism. Will not cry in public. Less chance of illness. Tires that grip in the wet. Shot of baby strapped in backseat. A good memory. Still cries at a good film. Still kisses with saliva. No longer empty and frantic. Like a cat. Tied to a stick. That's driven into frozen winter shit. The ability to laugh at weakness. Calm. Fitter. Healthier. And more productive. A pig. In a cage. On antibiotics.
You put it again with today's lens on, and we've obviously got our Alexas and our bits and bobs like that, which is almost like, you know, the thing you can kind of almost work with as an assistant to your life. But actually, with where, you know, GPT's gone now, and a lot of, I mean, 3 or 4 times today, you've sat and spoken to your phone like it was Star Trek.
Honestly, I cannot function without OpenAI, without ChatGPT at the minute. I spend my entire life talking to it.
Yeah, but isn't that interesting? It's
brilliant.
That's, you know, where it's gone, and it's gone beyond nipping on Google quick and all that, and you can literally. For those that are confident enough to do it, because obviously there's a lot of people that aren't there yet. You know, you can sit and just ask your phone some questions, and it'll have quite a human-sounding response to you.
Yeah, it does. I think it's really interesting because I think there's no way you could fall in love with Fred, right? That's not it's very cold, very Whereas actually, there was real concern with the latest ChatGPT app. They pulled that voice. Was it Sky? Yeah. It sounded like Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
From what was the movie called? She.
I don't know, but I remember
there was a movie where she played an AI.
Yeah.
And the voice Sky for ChatGPT sounded just like her. And there's a lot of pushback immediately. From Scarlett Johansson saying, "Oi, that sounds too much like me," but also from people saying it's too like flirty and feminine, and they felt that us boys would just fall in love with her immediately.
Incredible.
And I can imagine it because it does feel very, very like you're speaking to an alive thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I cannot cope without it at the minute. I just love it. Everything, just check me this, build me this, make me a table of this. You know what I mean? My day's full of AI at the minute.
Do you think it's probably going to make us? I'm going for probably a different podcast now, but do you think it's going to make us less tolerant of people because that can do it so much more efficiently?
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. We're not very tolerant of people anyway, are we? Well, we're not. We're just rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. All you got to there's a general election happening. When if you're listening to this and it's not a general election, at the point we recorded this, there was a general election. And I quite like a general election cycle because it kind of everyone starts to look at things and focus on things, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But what it does to the general population is it's like a sorting, like the Harry Potter sorting hat. You get the hat. Oh, you're Labour, you're Conservative, you're Green, you're this, right? And then it kind of puts you into groups, and you like, well, I'm Labour and you're Conservative. I can't talk to you. Or you're an idiot or whatever. And it kind of does this thing where it's like it others people, and I hate it, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think it's that simple. I think we simplify stuff too much. But
yep.
Anyway, what we're going to play out with?
We're going to go out with a letdown because it's not one that got me straight away.
Right.
Amidst your Karma Polices and your Paranoid Androids and
big singles.
Yeah, and even Exit Musical Film, all these other ones that I fell in love with straight away. This one took a little longer. But I absolutely adore it. It's such a beautiful, beautiful song. And yeah, I think it's a nice one to take us out.
Can I add something quickly for this album? It's got a dynamic range of 10. Remember we talked about dynamic range, the quiet parts of an album and the large parts of an album and the louder parts. I think it's interesting that The 2007 dynamic range in rainbows was dynamic in rainbows in 2007 dynamic range of 7. Pablo Honey was 10. The Benz was 12. OK Computer was 10. They've not changed massively.
No.
Do you know what I mean? They've tweaked things a little, but and I think the sound, you can hear it on this track particularly. There's a lot of dynamics. There's quiet bits. The quiet bits are quiet. Loud bits are loud. It encourages you to turn up the volume. It's a proper headphones on, turn the volume up a little bit, and you just kind of focus on it, and it repays you.
Nice. So yeah, fall in love with music. Get into it. Turn your volume up.
Let's walk.